Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Last night we had an excellent live stream where we talked to Max and Pete of Coma World. They were telling us all about their debut self-titled album, as well as what the recording process looked like, what it's like being two DIY guys doing everything themselves. It was a really great chat. I hope you enjoy it. If you are interested in checking out more interviews, particularly live while they're going on, asking your own questions for the artists, then please hop along to twitch.tv/DefyTheo and give me a follow over there. You'll get notified whenever I go live. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the interview. Have a good one. Take it easy. So how did you, I mean, have you known each other a while, or you came across each other more recently?
We
remember the years.
Yeah, we've known each other for, I'm gonna say probably like 15 years ago we met, maybe. But we were like Pete. We used to play in a kind of comedy club, like in the bands where you know the comedians would come out, and then in between acts there would be like dun 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 dun.
A little jazz skit.
So you were literally almost like a parody band.
Yeah. So, but there was a kind of creative freedom in that no one really cared that much.
Yeah, interesting.
About what we would do, and so it used to go quite far out, and it was kind of fine. So yeah.
That sounds actually quite fun. But it would be quite fun.
It basically was. It was one of those gigs where if you ever turned up really sort of annoyed with the day, you'd always leave just like really happy. It was a real sort of creative outlet, actually, that a lot of musical relationships were oddly formed in this spot.
Weird.
Yeah.
At the time kind of felt like the basement or whatever, but actually it was a really deep time for everyone.
So were you once living in the same proximity?
I think I used to drive quite far to South London to do that. It was in, where was it, in Greenwich or something, and
yeah,
I think they used to pay us like 20 quid or something.
But at that point, you're just kind of doing it for the fun, aren't you? Really?
At that point, I think everyone at that age are just out there trying to do as much gigs and as much playing as possible. It was just like every day of the week trying to do something, you know. So that was my life back then. It was just, but yeah, Pete it was great to meet Pete, and I always hoped that we could work on some more stuff together. And then the opportunity just came, you know, a bit later. Actually, it started off because I had a shoulder injury, and I could only play with one hand for a while, and then Pete was like, "Oh, you know what? I'll come round and we can still make some music like that." So that's kind of the first time we had a little, you know, one-on-one music session, and then I was like, "Okay, when my other arm is better, we should make some music." So that's how we did it.
And then how many years later?
Probably 3 years after that or something.
So I guess. So you're made of essentially one drummer, one bass player, right? So is that an intentional thing to avoid the egos of guitarists and singers?
To be honest, not at all. It was just that we've got this little effects box that basically does all of those egos for us.
Yeah, instantly replaced.
Just twiddle the knobs on it, and that's where we got all that sort of extra stuff from, basically.
I do like I do like working as a duo generally, because there's a real freedom with that. Like, things can move so quickly. Like, you don't have to be like, oh, you know, what key is it in? It's just like, you know, it's just drums and bass. Like, it just flows without any plan, and you know, it's just.
So how have you two been writing and working together? Have you been managing to meet up during COVID, or were the songs written pre?
When when we make the music, like we haven't really played since we made the record, to be honest. What we would do is kind of set up in this room where I am. I don't know. Is this like people can see? Because like there's some
I can
drums
see you.
there.
Yeah.
So we did it there, and then I got a little tape machine. There's that there, and then I would just set it up, and then we would kind of like jam for like 30 seconds, find an idea, and then we just push record, and we just did a maybe like a day of just doing that, just recording stuff and very like off the cuff, and then we just kind of picked the best bits and then added a load of electronic kind of jams.
Yeah, you built around them. Yeah, built around the ideas.
Kind of do lots
it was a very improvised way, wasn't it, that we did that as well? That production part of it was like just jamming again, but just again different knobs twiddling. But yeah, it was a very creative process the whole way through. It's
just I mean, it's essentially like you did like a day of brainstorming where you're just generating all these ideas, right? And then they kind of laid the foundation, and you built around them, restructured them, moved stuff around, and then
we kind of there's not a lot of restructuring. It's mainly like just making things shorter. That's why there's so many short tracks. But
you didn't want to overplay certain ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think there's something I kind of liked. This is the first record I've done where there's lots of space on the record. Like there's not, that we didn't fill it up with overdubs and stuff like that. It's just quite raw, and that's the first time I've made a record like that. And it was fun, and then and then we mixed it all live off a tape machine to a desk, and that was another whole day of like just trying to not mix it in a computer, kind of mix it kind of like on the board sort of thing, and just and making mistakes and then creating weird sounds. That's really what it was.
In terms of what you got on the tape machine, is that what's on the final record, or is that was that just, did you re-record that in the studio?
No, that's it. It's just we didn't re-record anything.
Interesting.
So it's all it's.
You got a great sound out your kit, mate. Honestly, I think it sounds great.
Oh, cheers! Yeah, we kind of, I've been trying to work on like getting a kind of raw drum sound that's kind of, not too many microphones, and keeping it kind of a bit old school like that.
Well, I think also one of the things that's really good about the drum sound, and it kind of works really well in this kind of genre, and if you think about like some trip hop stuff like that, like kind of it's all pretty dead sounding, like there's not a lot of room sound. And obviously you're not in an expensive studio, you don't have the luxury of being in like a really great sounding room or anything, so it's work that you've recorded in a small room like that.
You just get a nice sound, like natural sound in it. And just put some, like, I really like spring reverb and stuff like that, so we would probably use a bit of artificial reverb like that.
Nice. I've been using spring reverb quite a bit on guitars recently as well. Great. So about the what came first, like the music or the concept? You were going to call it Coma World, and that you were kind of the idea that it was kind of exploring this comatose state. How did that fit into the whole?
I mean, I'll just quickly say, like, I think Pete can elaborate a bit on it, but this was like I always think that when you're making kind of improvised music, when you're improvising music, and you're very sensitive to anything that is going through your mind, and so anything that you're talking about, kind of, or thinking about, it kind of ends up coming out. And we were definitely we were talking about it, not like, oh, we're going to make a record about this. But we were just talking about Pete's friend who had been in a coma, and we were just talking it through, and he was telling me about, you know, this was like the conversation that was like surrounding the session, and then it seemed to just match what we had made.
Nice.
Maybe you can talk a bit about your friend,
as much as you're comfortable talking about.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean, it's totally fine. No, it was actually more like a discussion of a friend of his friend, who was just talking about coma. A friend of a friend, a good friend, Andrew Vickery, great guitar player. There you go, get a little shout out. But yeah, he was telling me that this guy, was in the coma, but he was kind of living his normal, regular life where he lived, doing his day-to-day stuff. But there'd just be all this like weird psychedelic stuff, like a giant bunny or whatever walking down the street, and like a car floating through the sky just next to him or whatever, you know, just odd things that he didn't really question, but they were there.
So perfect for perfect for your sound, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But we were having lots of discussions about, you know, alternative realities and all this kind of thing, you know, lots of Rick and Morty style imaginings, and it all sort of goes together with this as well. Especially at this time.
What kind of? I'm just curious about the kind of gear and stuff you used for the electronics on top. Like, what were you using to get a lot of those sounds?
So basically, pretty much everything on every track maybe went through the Eventide pitch factor specifically.
Yeah.
And I've just been really into that pedal for years now. And so we were just trying little different things that it does on everything, and that's where I got all those sort of like guitar sounds on the bass. So it's literally just me playing the bass and then sending it through that pedal.
Yeah, I think that pedal, the pedal, when you put bass through it, you can sound like a guitar, but it can sound like tubular bells as well. Like, and then when you put the drums through it, it starts to do like insane stuff. Like the drums sound, I don't know, like this totally different kind of pitched percussion instrument starts jamming along with what you've made. And so that was really exciting to just start putting the whole mix through this thing. And that was a very important piece of equipment. But with it, we also used some like drum synths. I like synths, but as a drummer, I was always like, maybe I should get drum synths, you know. And so they kind of go like boing, and so they're quite limited in a way, but we were able to kind of like turn up the effects on that and create kind of sort of weird psychological soundscapes that seem to kind of like act as nice kind of eerie, kind of gluey stuff to kind of, we wanted that record to be a kind of journey through a kind of psychotic breakdown of like where everything doesn't really kind of feel normal anymore, and emotions and memories start to kind of get muddled up, and and the confusion and but also the kind of I was reading about like dreams, and I don't know if this is true of comas, but when you're in your dream state, there's actually your stress hormones are kind of nullified, so you don't actually have that much stress, so you can deal with situations that would normally be like absolutely terrifying. You can actually like go through memories and like deal with traumas and or just weird things happening. You can sort of like serenely kind of go through it, and I feel like that's sort of how I kind of hear this record is kind of like a journey through a kind of psychological map or something.
Is that what the drums are in this? You're the kind of serene navigator, the serene backbone throughout.
I mean, definitely,
I love that.
it's definitely like the approach to the composition as well. It's like just get as serene as you possibly can and just like follow the music and see where it ends, where you end up. You know, I think that's really the kind of mind state that we try to cultivate.
Did you have any trouble trying to kind of get back or to the kind of state that you created in the original sessions? Like,
how do you mean?
Well,
get back? I mean, when we played it,
when you played it the first time, when you were kind of laying down the electronics on top, were you maybe like in a different headspace, or you know, or did you find it actually quite easy to kind of do the electronic stuff?
I think we did the electronics on a different day, and that was like a real, like, I wasn't sure if that was even going to work. You know, I was like, because I don't really do electronics, and I know that Pete is a bit more like good, amazing with pedals, but this was like a real, like, you know, what's this going to sound like? But we were really excited with what was going on, because it just sounded like the thing was taking off and we didn't understand what was going on anymore. And that's always a really exciting moment, like when you just don't really get how it's working, you know, and it's starting to surprise you, you know. So that was. Yeah.
I think on that note, we should probably listen to some of your tracks. So we're going to start off. I think you sent me a list of tracks, which we're just going to play from back to back. So we're starting off with Megatone, which is actually the longest track on here. And then there's going to be a few short tracks. But yeah, we'll catch up with you guys after we've got through that. So yeah, this is Coma World. We're back. I think we all really enjoyed that. Obviously, I could hear it. You guys watching could hear it. Peter and Max have been spared their own music, I'm sure, for the 100th time.
But we've already heard it.
You've heard it a lot, yeah. Milta Mila has a question that you guys can maybe answering. When it comes to mixing, do they believe in another person to master the tracks, or do they believe more in the kind of 100% DIY approach?
That's an interesting question. I mean, this was a real experiment in DIY. We're gonna mix everything ourselves, but the mastering, I don't really understand like what do you know what I mean, how they do it. So mastering, we gave it to someone else, and that was interesting because they were like, oh, there's loads of hiss on everything. Like, how much hiss do you want me to keep in it? Because they can like remove the hiss. So most of the mastering discussion was just like, what level of hiss do you want to, like, tape hiss, you know?
A tasteful amount of hiss would be good.
Yeah. It's like, look, I'm going to do this mastering and it's going to make the hiss even louder.
Yeah,
Is that okay? And then we had a lot of back and forth, and then in the end we were like, we want more hiss. We like the hiss. It's soothing. It kind of relaxes. It's calming. So now when I hear them think about the mastering, I can only think about just he turned up the hiss, and that was cool.
That's our more cowbell moment.
Yeah,
interesting.
It lost a lot of the vibe. You took that away.
I bet. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, the vibe. I mean, like when I'm listening to it, the kind of vibe I get is like I'm in a bit of a dingy club. That's kind of the vibe that I get. Is like I'm just kind of transported into like this dingy club with these sonics are kind of lock onto. There's something kind of. I think when someone said about Megatone, is it? dank vibes, and I get that. It just feels like grimy, like there's a griminess to it, there's a grounded quality to it, right? And the kind of electronics and the sonics kind of give you this, it's like the cherry on top. It brings a lightness to things, I think, that and a slight strangeness to things, which I don't know, it all really works together for me.
There's that track in particular is quite funny because we did one take of it, and I realized we totally messed up the recording, and I'd left like the record volume up, and there was loads of bleed or whatever. So I was like, let's just go over it again and do this, like rewind the tape and do another take of it. So we did that, and so most of it is the second take, but then when it gets to the end, it just went into the first take again, and the first take was like actually much better. And so the end of that track is actually the end of the first take, and it was a weird thing that happened. That's why that track is quite long as well.
Oh, okay, yeah, because it's the longest one on the album, isn't it?
Yeah.
Laurie says, you feel like you're in a real space, which is great in these days of often bland perfection, which is good. Ollie says, this is excellent, feels very organic and full of energy, which is nice. I think that that hiss definitely... Well, yeah. when he's talking about bringing up the hiss, they bring up the highs to kind of give the sound more energy, right? And you're going to bring up some of the noise with that. Econ asks, can Max talk about his kit and cymbals? I think Econ's the drummer in my band, so he wants to know about what you're hitting.
I mean, I like older drums. I'm kind of into vintage drums. Like a Ludwig snare, and I think actually that drum kit that we played on the record was like my drum kit from when I was 13 or something. So it was an old Remo kit from the 90s, and now I've got like Premier, like some old charity shop kind of eBay cobbled together Premier thing from the 60s. It was all the wrong colors and stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, I always go for character, especially for like when you're recording. Just something with the right sound. Yeah.
And like using coated heads, I imagine, for the sound.
Actually, I do now, but I think I was using a kind of hydraulic tom heads, which is like tom heads with loads of oil in between the two heads.
Okay.
I don't have to be too geeky about this, but in the 70s they developed this like type of drum head with a layer of oil in the middle, and it's just super dark, dead sound.
Yeah.
That. And so I was into that. At the time we made it, I was like using those.
That's really interesting, actually, because that's coated times 10, I imagine.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just super dead, and that's what gives it that dry kind of sound.
Yeah. What about on the snare? Were you using, because the snare's quite dead in the mix as well, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, I normally just find something to put on the snare, like, to just kind of
muffle it a bit. Tea towel or something.
Put a wallet on it or something. Yeah, nice. So just dead and snappy. I don't, I change it up a bit, but on that tune in particular.
Econ says he has an amazing vintage sound. Not sure how much of that was down to mixing and recording techniques.
Well, I think it's all recorded analog. It's all recorded with, I don't close mic anything. I kind of, I try to give a bit of air between everything, so and like not too many. I think I only use 3 mics on the kit. So it's...
Really? So what, 2 overheads and a kick, or one in between the kick and the snare kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I use one above the kit, one on the side,
Yeah.
and one in the kit. But at the moment, I have one on the top, and I have one on the floor, like under my stool. Is a kind of magic position that I really into.
Nice.
And then one behind the kick. So yeah, there you go. That's my secrets.
Lovely. There was a track on there which is the Cream Submarine Sarmakiadub. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
That
Is that someone else who remixed?
Yeah, they're like our label mates.
Oh right.
And I think they're from Poland, right?
Yeah, it sounds like a Polish name. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so we did it. Yeah, they just helped us out, did a remix for us, and they killed it. I was just like, whoa.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's always nice when it brings like a different flavour to what you like, surprises you a bit, right?
Yeah, and we're having this sort of weird, strange connection with Poland. We have a Polish booking agent, so we're like looking to play in Poland. So I think there's something, there must be something Polish about what we've done. Poland's
the new Japan, right?
Yeah.
That's quite weird that you say that.
Why? Is that what your booking agent's been telling you?
From a little WhatsApp exchange from earlier.
Yeah.
There was a weird little coincidence, a little blip in the matrix.
Yeah, that's it. It's deja vu, isn't it? That's the trick to knowing you're in the matrix. Little black cats, yeah. The last thing I had to ask you about was the artwork, because you've got really cool artwork. So I checked out the artist, a guy called Philip Hale, but and I've seen the original paintings actually on his Instagram. Like, did you guys take that artwork and then manipulate it and do digital stuff on top, or was that all part of his process? Like, how did that work?
I mean, I think that, yeah, so Phil's a friend of mine, and he that particular image is like, he tried to explain it to me, but it's like when you do a print of a painting, you go through this process where they have to make a blue plate of the painting, and so he just found this like smashed up blue plate of one of his paintings, and he took a picture of it, and then we saw that, and we were like, it was just like, that looks like the cover to me, and then so the other side of the vinyl was actually the other side of the plate as well.
Oh, that's cool. That's nice.
So
you did like you did 500 vinyl presses, right? From what I hear,
I want to say 3
or 3.
Yeah, 300.
You've sold quite a few.
I don't actually know. Like, it's sold out on Bandcamp.
Yeah,
but I don't really. A lot of the record shops they're still not open. So right. I think there's quite a few copies out just waiting to be.
They're all in Poland, mate, I think is the answer.
Yeah. Brilliant.
A little black market going on. Cool.
Wow.
Cool. All right. I don't have any other questions. I think that's it from the chat. So I will just leave it there and just say thanks a lot, guys. And if there's anything you want to mention or say before you go, it's over to you.
Well, definitely going to say a little thanks to Bird Out for putting all this together, putting it out there into the universe, slotting the coin into the machine for us. He's doing great.
Yeah, and it brings me so much pleasure to have people listen to it and to get positive feedback. Is really like, it's really dreamy, because
cool.
We didn't mean to make we were just having so much fun making this music, and then the fact that it's a record at all has been great, and then to have the feedback's been really awesome.
Well,
so thank you for the support.
No, yeah, well, I mean, it sounds really good, and I hope we hear more from you. Not to imply that we're greedy and you must get back on the horse and create more, but I'm sure there'll be even more people wanting to listen to whatever you guys come up with next. So,
Yes, don't worry.
thanks a lot, guys.
The talk's already happened.
Wicked. All right, have a lovely weekend, guys. Take it easy, and thanks a lot. See ya.
Ciao. Bye.
Awesome. That was Max and Pete from Coma World. Very interesting chats. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Miltamila. Thanks for asking a few questions as well, guys. Yeah, really enjoyable album that I've vibed out to quite a few times already this week in preparation for the interview. So, yeah, definitely get on it. If you haven't listened to the whole thing already, you can find it there. All the information is there. And yeah, I think on that note, we're done for another New Music Friday. So thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And yeah, catch you guys this weekend for something or other. Not sure. I'll leave you with some more Coma World. Take it easy.